Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Nam. As the Vice President of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Anna Dickinson, former Principal and CEO of Loreto Kirribilli and current Director of the Board of Catholic Schools New South Wales, as our distinguished guest of honour. The Guild would sincerely like to thank Mrs. Dickinson for taking her time and also accepting the Guild's invitation as our 2024 Guest of Honour. Mrs. Dickinson currently serves as a Director on the Board of Catholic Schools New South Wales. She was Principal and CEO of Loreto Kirribilli Limited for the past 10 years, and prior to that served as Principal of two other Catholic schools, Bethlehem College Ashfield and Our Lady of the Sacred Heart College, Kensington. She has 42 years' experience in Catholic education, with previous roles including Regional Consultant at the Sydney Catholic Education Office and Director of System Performance for the Diocese of Parramatta. Anna has previously served on boards and committees including Association of Independent Schools of New South Wales Advisory Council, Independent Girls Schools Association Board, Chair of the Nirimba Educational Precinct, a multi-institutional education campus of UWS, TAFE, DET and CEO Parramatta. Chair of the AIS New South Wales Independent Schools Teacher Accreditation Authority, Director on the Sydney Archdiocesan Catholic Schools Board, Director on the Dunley Centre Engadine Board, New South Wales Education Standards Authority Quality Teaching Committee. In 2023, she was awarded an honorary fellowship with the Teachers Guild and an ACL New South Wales Leadership Award. She has also received the International Women's Day Award for significant contribution to school leadership for the Archdiocese of Sydney and the Australian College of Educators Alan Loughlin Perpetual Award for outstanding leadership in the Catholic Archdiocese of Sydney for leading change in improving the quality of learning and teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Mrs. Anna Dickinson.
So thank you so much, Patrick, and welcome everyone. Good evening. I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we're gathered tonight, the Wongal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I hope you're all enjoying this wonderful evening, a celebration of the gifts and the talents of educators, and I congratulate all the award recipients. I commend the Teachers Guild for continuing to publicly recognise our honourable profession and the exceptional work of teachers. I also thank Frederick for inviting me to deliver this keynote address on something I'm very passionate about, so be ready for that, about investing in teachers. It's about time. This address was inspired by my work with teachers over the past 42 years across a range of schools, from the greater west of Sydney, the eastern suburbs, the southern suburbs, the lower North Shore and the inner west. And it's on a subject that is very topical at the moment. My address will highlight the why this investment is necessary and the what and the how I had the privilege of leading a school to attend to this, to respond to this need. Ultimately, it was a 10-year process, and it was a process of listening to teachers, finding out their solutions and then implementing them. Then we gathered the evidence to demonstrate that these solutions were improving the learning outcomes of students, the well-being of students and the well-being of staff. So, starting with the why. And it's not working. Yes, there it goes. Well, we all know that we live in a world that's continually changing. We live in what they describe as a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And in response to this continual changing context, teaching and learning has progressed across all schools, from that industrial model of schooling that evolved for another age, to teachers redesigning the learning experience by igniting students' curiosity, exploration, and engagement, ensuring that schooling is relevant and responsive to the very complex needs of students. Given that the students have so many distractions today and opportunities, this is quite a challenging concept to actually meet that need. But educators are passionate about young people flourishing and experiencing the very best education possible. Educators today understand that, of course, knowledge is so crucial, but skills and capabilities are also crucial. Skills such as collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication. Those skills will enhance effective learning, but they'll also support our young people in addressing the significant challenges that current and previous generations have created. Challenges such as climate change, inequity in resource distribution, and political instability, just to name a few. Teachers across all of our schools, through their relentless pursuit to serve the young people in their care, responded to those challenges and have revolutionised teaching and learning. This includes, but not limited to, pedagogical approaches, from passive to active learning, transdisciplinary learning, curriculum changes, from content, which is still very important, but to concepts, which takes it deeper, and the development of the 4 Cs, as I've mentioned. Assessment and reporting changes, massive technological changes, with teachers now reaching out beyond the classroom to be present in students' homes and responding now to the explosion of AI in the world. Maximising the opportunities of AI, but also grappling with the major challenges of AI. Catering for the well-being of students has become a major priority of all of our teachers. The promotion of student agency, the way learning spaces are designed and used, micro-credentialing, personalisation, and the list goes on. It's actually quite, when you think about it, quite amazing what teachers have been doing, the massive changes in education that they've been grappling with. They have created, adapted, and adopted this revolution in teaching and learning over the past decades. But they've done it, and here's the point that I'm trying to make tonight, they've done it without any real change in their working conditions. In fact, the teachers of the 60s and the 70s, my teachers, would you believe it? My teachers had the same working conditions as the teachers of today. How could that be? The teachers of yesteryear didn't have the same level of expectation of parents and wider society. They didn't experience the same access that parents and students have to teachers today through the use of technology. Neither did teachers of the past have the deep understanding of the learning process that we have now. Our knowledge of neuroscience and the strategies for meeting the individual needs of students. So even though there were all these additional expectations placed on teachers, there was no additional time given to respond to this, and we wonder why they're exhausted. During the COVID lockdown period, the broader community recognised the amazing capacity of teachers. They recognised their flexibility, their connectivity, and their adaptability. And for a relatively short period of time, the status of teachers was raised in the eyes of the community, with media articles praising teachers because parents were trying to grapple with the whole issue of homeschooling, and they could see finally the amazing job that teachers were doing. So the media stopped reporting negatively. But as soon as lockdown was over, the media reverted right back to blaming teachers for all societal ills. And that was at a time when teachers were at their most vulnerable, when they had the teaching shortages that are happening still and will accelerate. And I'll talk to that in a moment. Continual COVID illnesses happening for teachers, and the complexity and the emergence of AI. Now, it was said today, one of our award recipients described teaching as a vocation, and it is. It's absolutely a calling. It's a calling with a passion and an innate desire to share that love of learning and the love of certain subject disciplines. But teaching must also be recognised by society as a profession, one that now has significant regulatory, legislative and compliance requirements, along with accreditation expectations to ensure consistency of best practice of teaching and learning across all schools. And we understand the importance of this. But where was the additional time offered? There was a tsunami of expectations with no time allowance to accommodate. There was just more and more added, but nothing was taken away from teachers. So I believe, first and foremost, that due to all of these additional expectations and the revolution that we've had in the art and science of teaching, that first of all, society is obliged to recognise the status of teachers as an honourable profession, number one. Secondly, that they need to respect the very complex nature of the role of teacher and the gift of it. Positively report on the status of teachers and the work that they do each and every day for the young people in their care. And advocate for the additional time that teachers need to be able to do the work that is crucial for the young people in their care. And when teachers know what they could do to help young people, but they just don't have the time to do it, it is so complex for teachers to experience that. And when they do get the time, it brings them so much purpose and meaning in their lives. So we're in a crisis at the moment, and we're in a crisis of attracting and retaining teachers for all the reasons I've mentioned. And it's universally recognised. And it will require responses that don't compound the problem. We can't be using strategies such as increasing class sizes. People say that class size doesn't count. It does count. Any teacher in this room will say a class size counts, and I would strongly advocate for that. You can't be using inadequately trained teachers or personnel to be in the front of a classroom and say that's going to be good enough. Not for our children. Or create cookie-cutter lesson plans that were suggested at one point, until that was shut down very quickly. All of those are band-aids, and they're band-aids that are evading the issue, and the issue is conditions of teachers. Current research, it's quite horrific to hear, from the Federal Department of Education predicts that by next year there'll be a shortage of 4,100 teachers. How will that impact on the teachers that are in the schools? How will that impact on the young people that haven't got a teacher in front of them when the class is divided up and the child is in the back of a classroom and not learning? What's the impact of that? So what I want to talk about now is what a school of mine that I was leading, I had the privilege of leading, attempted to do to respond to this. So it began back in 2014. I'd just been appointed as principal of the school, and I did what all principals do. I had my fireside chat with all of the staff, and I asked them, what are the strengths of the school? And they told me the strengths, and they were very positive about the school. And then I said, what can we do to improve the school? Every single teacher, time, Anna. Can you find time? If I just had some time, the difference that it would make. So I was looking at them thinking, well, I don't know where the time's going to come from. So I said, okay, find me the time. Go and work it out. Use those 4 C's that you develop with the children so well. Use your critical thinking and your creativity and your collaboration. Come back and give me the solutions and I'll implement some of those changes. So they did. They came back with some solutions, we implemented them, and that seemed to work for a little period of time. But it was in 2018 when my executive team and I realised that this really wicked problem of time was not going away and we needed to do something more deeply. So what we did is we had a significant collaboration session with our staff and also with the board to attempt to address this wicked problem of time. And what we did is that it took 3 years really to address the issue. We began disrupting the working conditions of our teachers. We definitely worked on elevating their status and restoring the time consumed by low-level administration tasks. And all of that additional time that was created, teachers used in collaboration with each other to reflect on student learning and to plan quality learning experiences that maximise the benefit of the students. The improvement was significant. Not only was there a massive improvement in learning outcomes of students, but you could see the improvement in the well-being of the girls and also the well-being of staff. We also changed some of the working conditions of the teachers in the school. I've gone one too far. And we removed as I said, the routine low-level admin tasks, but we also removed something, and I think we're the only school in the country that's done this. Britain has done it though. We took playground duty away from teachers. And when we did that, it was a suggestion of the teachers, we trained up the support staff and we gave them the skills. Now the interesting thing, a number of the support staff said they saw their work before as tasks. After being out with the girls, they saw their work having the meaning of that work is for those students. So it changed their whole mindset around working in the school, having a different role to play in the school. The amazing part about all of that was it came at a cost saving. So you might think, oh, well, that will be very expensive to do. No, it actually saved 2 FTE. We invested that money then in the use of invigilators. So when we're having exams, such as the trial exams that are coming up now, invigilators would supervise those exams, which gave teachers the time to focus on their marking and providing quality feedback to students in a timely manner, and we know the difference that makes. We better utilise the support staff to engage in a whole range of activities, such as putting marks, entering marks, wasted time for teachers to do something like that, improved data analysis, to expedite excursion and retreat bookings. Think of the time that teachers spend on phones. It's not their main focus. They also, support staff were helping the teachers with risk mitigation documents. They performed all the admin activities for year-based. So, for example, semi-formals and formals and all those things, ringing buses and organising things, all done by the support staff. So again, we needed to find admin efficiencies, which we did with the support staff, and then we redeveloped their role descriptions. Teachers then started to look at the calendar. Could they find time in the school calendar? And they did. They could see there was a range of activities we did each year, and they thought that they could rotate through some of those, like swimming carnivals, athletics carnivals. Important to attend to those, but if we could rotate teams through them, then the teachers could use that time for curriculum changes and sharing of innovative practices in teaching and learning. Some of the other actions that we took was to really work on building the capacity of our staff. So we looked at all of those one-off PD sessions, realising that they weren't really making any impact, and strategically targeted our whole school professional learning to focus on innovative and engaging pedagogy, and also leadership development, very much developing that and promoting that growth mindset. And there was a direct correlation with that work and the appraisal processes we were using with our staff and student goal setting. And it was wonderful to see the appraisal documents really show the rich learning that was happening as a result of that. There was additional mentoring time given to teachers to support their aspirations to leadership. So they were given the opportunity to be mentored, not just as beginning teachers, but mentored into preparing for leadership roles. And those leadership roles might happen at our school or at a different school. That's a good thing. It's about teachers being able to see themselves progressing in this career, that they aren't locked to a school and kept there for forever. That's not a healthy thing for anybody. It's wonderful for teachers to be able to aspire to go beyond. So having that mentoring really supported them. And there were also those additional leadership opportunities we did create within the school, met the needs of students obviously, and it met the needs of our staff. We also encouraged our teachers to apply for the higher levels of accreditation. Now we know that we don't have many teachers applying for HALT, and some of that is due to the onerous nature of the HALT process. Some of it's due to the fact that teachers want to invest their time for children, and they'll rarely take that time for themselves, even though there's a remuneration benefit. So what we did, we decided we'd flip the process. Let's remunerate them first. So we identified who the teachers would be that would qualify for HALT. We got them to go through and tick off that they met all the required standards to apply for HALT. And then we said, sign a little bit of an agreement with the school around what would be expected of them. But then we began remunerating them straight away. And what did we have? A whole pile of people applying for HALT. So it was a clever strategy, just a bit of a flip, 2 years earlier, but it's saying to the teacher, I believe in you. I believe you are at that level, and we want to remunerate you already and give you the status recognition because you're making a difference in the life of the school because of the work you're doing at that level. We could see the impact that consulting with the staff, what that was doing, and giving staff a voice in the decision making. We could see the impact that the time that we were creating was providing for our staff to be able to meet the needs of our students. The feedback we got from staff was positive, it was constructive, and it reinforced the positive culture of our school. And this was acknowledged. We annually do a voice survey for Voice Project, a survey. It's a workplace survey that comes out of Macquarie University. And in 2020, which was at this time when we were doing all of this, we were acknowledged by the Voice Project achieving the Staff Wellbeing and Workplace Award, and we've remained at the highest levels in that survey instrument annually. I must emphasise though, why this worked. We didn't go and cookie cut somebody else's ideas and just transport them into the school. It was a ground up process. It was empowering the teachers to look at how they could create the solutions. Remember, these incredible people are the ones developing these skills, these 4 Cs, with the children. They have those 4 Cs. They have the capacity to critically think, to create, to collaborate, and to communicate. So we gave them that opportunity to do that and to improve the context within which they were working, their working environment. As we continued to consult with them, and that was just towards the end of my tenure at Loreto, they were desiring the idea of having more flexibility because they were seeing that their colleagues in other workplaces had flexibility. So we started to look at models of flexibility. And when we think again back to when I was a girl at school, the timetable structures that we have today are the same as the ones we had when I was at school. I am a dinosaur. Like this, it's ridiculous when you think about it. And partly it's because schools are so inherently conservative. They're so frightened in some way to change structures. The teachers aren't. They create change all the time. But it's the structures that then inhibit them to do the sorts of things they need to do. So we were definitely on a road to looking at how to create that flexibility for their teachers. So I argue that teachers across all schools have created this amazing revolution in teaching and learning, that we all need to empower our teachers to apply those 4C skills to transform the conditions of teachers and the status of our profession. And I believe if we all do that, then our teachers will be the best advocates for the profession, which will ultimately lead to teachers or young people being attracted to the profession in the future. Because the reality of it is, my generation is retiring out, and we came into the profession in huge numbers. We came in with scholarships and we were aspiring to this wonderful profession. The young people are not looking at teaching at the moment in the same way as my generation did. And partly it would be because when they talk to teachers about the profession, what are the messages they're hearing? Are they hearing, it's fantastic, I love it, I enjoy what I'm doing? They talk about it being this vocation they're called to, but they're seeing the time and the energy that they're expending. While we were doing all of this, we obviously were communicating to the girls, to the students at the school, about what we were doing. So we were explaining the why and the how and the what. And we collected some information from them continually about how they were seeing this new concept evolving. And then we captured some of their thoughts on video. And I've got a little video, hopefully it'll work, of just 3 girls sharing their thoughts. Oh, no.
I think this change has been really interesting in terms of how we see teaching as a career, in terms of from a student's perspective. Because before when we had teachers working during lunchtimes, we kind of saw teachers not so much as teaching as a profession, but rather somebody who just worked at the school. But since this change, we've come to acknowledge that teaching is a unique profession, and that teachers are just our teachers. And it's important in terms of respect for teaching as a career, and how students see their teachers, as opposed to someone who just works at the school, but rather an important person who has this incredible expertise in teaching us and helping us develop our abilities as students.
Something I've definitely noticed about the introduction of this program is definitely the extra support that the students are feeling from the teachers. So as a Year 11 student, often we have multiple subjects in the same day, which means that when we have 2 subjects that are separated throughout the day, often by the end of the day, by period 5 and 6, our teachers are able to give feedback back to us a lot quicker, they're able to get marks back to us a lot quicker, and just a lot of the girls are feeling a lot more at ease with that and are feeling a lot more supported in their studies. A personal experience with that is when I didn't do as well as in a maths test, my teacher was able to meet with me at lunch and go through all the areas I got wrong, because she wasn't needing to spend her time on playground duties.
As someone who wants to be a teacher, it's really exciting to see education move into a more modern world where we have respect for people's professions and start treating them in the same way that other professions are treated. Respecting teachers for their degrees and their time, and making sure that they can use this to the best of their abilities through implementing lesson plans, and making sure that they're treated with the same respect we treat other people, giving them lunch breaks, giving them the time off, is really important for someone who wants to move into this profession in the future.
So although a really complex topic, I hope that by describing the journey tonight, conversations will be ignited about those teaching conditions that belong in the past and are no longer relevant in the world in which our young people learn today. I hope that it will encourage our profession to consider the options that I've mentioned, but also the options that will be created within different school contexts in support of the well-being of our young people, in support of their learning outcomes, in support of the well-being of our teachers, which will ultimately support the recruitment and retention of teachers. Thank you, everyone.
Anna, our President and the Council greatly appreciated your acceptance of the invitation to come and speak. And we couldn't have listened to a more constructive address than you have given. It's a phenomenal example of change that you implemented with your teachers at Loreto to come to the point that you got to. I was looking through the details and considering the hours of work you would have put in as principal, as well as being on committees and councils, etc., I would gauge your working hours were probably 70 or 80 per week. We share very much your emphasis on supporting teachers for quality teaching to enable students to have quality learning in their schools. It's such significant work that teachers do to support young people, to guide them, to understand them, to encourage them. You very much have promoted effectiveness of teaching. This was the topic, together with professional learning, of my research that I did. And listening to you, I thought if you had have been one of the schools included in my research, you would have been there as top of the list, with the recommendations that you've made. But importantly, you've indicated giving agency to teachers to determine their directions for best practice, the professional learning that they need, how they can go about it, and to work on this together. I appreciated you raising also the time pressures on teachers. Many years ago, I had an ideal, and I don't think it can ever be afforded, that teachers' work should be divided into 3/3. A third of the time, preparation, including the research and approaches, etc. A third of the time with students, giving them the lessons, doing activities with them. And then a third of the time for follow-up, to get rid of this pressure of marking that teachers have and not having enough time to actually see students individually to follow up on what they've done. Do you think we as a country would ever be able to cost such a system, Anna?
It would be wonderful.
I congratulate you on your creativity with how to come around this problem, actually, with involving support staff. We do need to do something about the status of teaching. I'm in the same vintage as Anna, and we certainly went into the profession seeing it as such an ideal. I idolised my teachers. They were such role models, and I've been proud to be a teacher. I was in schools for over 40 years. You can tell that by looking at me. But we have got to work on more status for teachers, more remuneration, and certainly more flexibility in approaches in schools so that they can cope. I think students observe so much. They observe a lot about their own parents at home, but they observe so much about their teachers at school. And students know when teachers are stressed, when they're time poor. And it shouldn't be the case that they would be observing such things. I congratulate you on those wonderful articulate students who spoke their perceptions shared with us. So let's hope that we can keep attracting very, very good people into the profession. With hearing the details with our awardees this evening, it's so reinforcing, isn't it? And the scholarship awards, and to hear those two young people speaking to us. These are the teachers we want for the future, and may there be many more. Now, could I ask Fred to join me up here? And Anna, could you please come forward, because there is a little gift for you in recognition of your speaking to us this evening. Thank you. Thank you very much.